Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Johnson, and welcome to another episode of Conscious Matrix Interviews. And today I have a very good special friend with me. This is Dr. Joseph Marra. And Joe, thank you so much for being a part of Conscious Matrix Interviews. I know that you and I have had interviews in the past through your radio show, and it's good to have the shoe on the other foot, so to speak. So thank you so much for being here today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Brad. It's great to reconnect.
Absolutely. Very good. And I'm just going to give a brief introduction to Dr. Joseph Marra. He is a doctor of nursing practice and had an established practice in Altoona, Pennsylvania called the Urgent Care Center until June 30th, 2011. Practicing traditional medicine in conjunction with the more holistic approaches, Dr. Marra is also a hypnotherapist, Reiki Master, an intuitive healer, and spiritual counselor. Basically, he offers a full range of healthcare modalities, addressing most health concerns, and has made it his mission to be of service to all in all areas of body, mind, and spirit, which translates to health in its wholeness, or holistic healthcare. Gently raised Roman Catholic, he has always questioned religion and the tight box that each individual is placed in regards to religion. He considers himself a spiritual person without the confines of a specific denomination, as he remains open to his life's expression and the road to enlightenment. Dr. Marra's teachings have been heard all over the globe on his Universal Talk radio show. He hosts many unconventional and informative guest speakers from the metaphysical, spiritual, and paranormal communities from all over the world. He does this to help us with connecting the dots to this puzzle that we call life, or at least to paint a more complete picture of humanity's true potential. And of course, Dr. Marra's website is guidinglight.com. So Joe, again, a lot of stuff that you have been really doing, really starting off in kind of like the practical career relating to medicine. How has this journey all unfolded to you? How did this kind of start from, you having your own practice to kind of moving into more of the holistic approach of where you are right now?
Well, I've always questioned, our current life as humans on this planet, and I always wanted to help people. So I went into the nursing career, and I got an associate degree in RN and a family nurse practitioner, and then I went another 2 years for my doctorate. And along the way, you run into things through your research, different people you're treating, and some of the things that you're not taught in school are sitting right there in front of you, and so how do you treat that? Most of the time they teach you that, wow, this person is, they have a psychiatric issue, and therefore you need to give them a medication. And so that never really sat well with me because, I always thought, on this huge planet, in this world of endless possibility, there's something more than what we create that's man-made or processed. And so I did my own research, and I actually, in my undergraduate studies, I did a research paper for hypnotherapy, and I had to speak in front of the class, and of course I got laughed at and ridiculed because everybody thought, oh, what are you going to do, make me quack like a duck and all these types of things. And so that ridicule started early on, and now I see why people, because I've been on both sides of the fence, so to speak, of why people don't come out and speak their truth and speak about what's really going on. Everybody seems to be in this little tight box. And so that's what really led me, like, how can I help my patients? Because some people, quite honestly, they don't want anything traditional. They don't believe in it. And so, I can help those people because I was can we help these individuals? And so I studied hypnotherapy, energy healing, became a Reiki Master and a hypnotherapist, and those just led to further research and to go into the Mayan civilization and exploring that, and to the Iseti Ranch, and to explore the ET realm, and to go to Gettysburg, and to explore the astral realm. And when you have these experiences, even though you're trained as a scientist, there it is right in front of you that nobody can disprove it to me because I personally experienced it. I witnessed it with my five senses. And so, it's just this constant evolution for myself. And so how can I help other people? And so that's what really led me down this road.
Exactly. And I think that's always been a very big topic that you and I have always discussed, is about the extraterrestrial realm too. And it's always moving past the practicality of modern science and modern medicine and all that. But let's talk about like the extraterrestrial experiences that you've had, because there's been some really fascinating information that you've provided relating to this topic. Can you talk about some really profound, perhaps extraterrestrial presences and experiences that you've personally faced?
Personally, I mean, this happens on several levels, by the way. And you almost have to be at a particular vibration, because at this particular awareness that I'm at now, everything's about vibration, everything's about energy. And so if you vibrate at a particular frequency, you will attract more of that vibration and more of that conscious awareness in that vibrational flow. And so as you raise your vibration, all of a sudden you step into these higher realms that you couldn't perceive otherwise. And so as you do this, there's channeling, there's physical witnessing with your own eyes, which I have camcordered. I went to visit Cynthia Crawford, who is, she calls herself the ET sculptor, and she sculpts various ETs. And so she's become a good friend of mine. And I happened to be at her house one day, and there they were, the Phoenix lights out over Phoenix, and then I filmed them. And so there it was, 1 minute and 44 seconds or something like that, that I actually, and it wasn't just me physically seeing them. In the moment, I felt the love vibration from these ships, these craft, whatever, these light orbs. They were huge, and what gave it reference was the lights, the horizon of lights in Phoenix, and then there was a blinking light that was going around them like a helicopter. And that blinking light was so small compared to how big these lights were, it gave you like, oh my gosh, these things are huge. And so, talk about profound. I mean, that right there was like, oh my gosh, I came out here to capture these, what's the chances? And there it was. And so, I had that experience. The backdrop to her house is called Superstition Mountain. And as we walked up there, my friend Terry, who's a deep channel, she actually could see beyond that mountain. Like what was in it to her was a UFO. And so I think that some of these mountains, like Mount Shasta and Mount Adams, I think that there are actually UFOs within these various huge mountains. And so while I was at ESETI, skipping forward a little bit, I captured that on all these UFOs. They would come over, stop, power up, because we were all excited. We were in that vibration, in that moment, and collectively everybody wanted to see these things. And so as you step into certain parts on the planet that have a higher vibration, you attune to that, and now all of a sudden your visual perspective gets wider, and now all of a sudden you can see these things. And so that explains to people that say, well, I've never saw one. Well, if you don't believe in it and you're not at a vibration where you're even open to believe in it, then most likely you're not going to see it. And so it was like, well, if I don't see it, I don't believe it. But that's what we've been taught. That's what we've been programmed. And it's actually the opposite.
Yeah.
If you believe it, you'll see it.
And that's true as well, too, because I mean, like, even with me, I've had some really amazing experiences, like basically with the CE5 notion, so to speak. Just last week, actually, going up to an area here in Vancouver called Cypress Mountain, and we were able to see about 20 or so UFOs. So it was really, I don't even really like to refer to them as that term either, just basically looking at star brothers and star families, so to speak. But really being able to see the interaction that they do. We have a lot of them that are just hovering in the sky and just flashing these beautiful lights at us, and it really is more than just electromagnetism or simple little flashlights in that way. This is actual spirit light that's coming very, very strongly. But I've heard a lot about James Gilliland. In regards to the experiences that you've had on the ESETI Ranch, have these been some very, I guess you could say, personalized encounters that you've had?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it just so happened that they were doing a documentary, which people can YouTube or Google it, and they'll find the ESETI Ranch documentary. And some of the things that we captured is the name of the crew that was filming it. And I'm telling you, as trained as a scientist, and you go up to places like this, and all of a sudden, not only are you seeing it, but everybody around you is seeing these things. And it's not just the UFOs. You step into these higher dimensions where a lot of other things are happening. And so these little pixies are flying by right in front of your face, and you see the body, and the wings going like this, and meanwhile you're capturing it on the camera. And so now, not only did you see it and everybody around you, 30 people, but it's on your camera. And so those people that say, oh, that doesn't exist, that's crazy, I don't know what to tell you. There it is. It's filmed. You have a corroboration of third, fourth, fifth bunch of other parties there that saw the same thing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, James Gillen is so well known for catching some really amazing stuff on video. I'd like to see if I can get him on for an interview one of these days as well too, because I know he has some very fascinating stories to share as well too, with a lot of his own personalized encounters as well. What do you feel kind of led you more into the ET field? Was there kind of an experience that kind of led you more into investigating this a little bit further, or is it something that just kind of naturally gravitated through you in regards to a lot of your spiritual journey?
I think it's all part of the evolution of humanity, and you go up these realms, at least in my personal, and so what I'm putting out today with talking with you is my truth, so I'm not trying to push it on anybody else, and some people out there might not resonate with what I'm saying, but other people will. And so that's an important part in this whole movement, is that, you know, if you hear somebody's message and you don't like it or it doesn't resonate with you, you know what, just leave it. Don't judge the person and other. And so everybody's truth is basically individual, although we do have this collective consciousness that we're all connected to. And so there's a general reality that we're all tied into. And so I'm going to go a little off topic here just to finish this thought, and hopefully you can bring me back, Brad. But this is a big story, and to understand it, you have to know all the variables. And so what if there is an elite group that everybody knows about that are playing their part as the opposition? How can they control the masses when there's only a select few of them? Well, if they figured out, what if they figured out that we were these powerful co-creators, and through controlling our thoughts through things like the media, through education, through movies, through television, through newspapers, even the Weather Channel, as simple as weather. They put out weather and all of a sudden this hurricane's coming and it's going to destroy. The more people that believe one thing at one time becomes your general reality. And so they know this. And so they put it out there and they hammer it. And that's why they keep causing fear, because we live in a polarity of hot, cold, good, bad, up, down. We have love and fear. And so they feed off of our fear. And so the more fear they cause, it lowers our vibration. And so now we're stuck here, and this is what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, is as you raise your vibration, you can see and experience other things that you normally couldn't at a lower vibration. And so this is all connected. So this goes back to, you know, your question originally is like, what led me down this? Well, I wanted the truth. Me personally, I said, I want the truth, and I was literally screaming at the universe, I want the truth. I'm tired. I know there's got to be something better, something more out there than what I'm experiencing. And so with that, all of a sudden this woman walks into my life, and I owned an urgent care center back then, and she was a hypnotherapist, a Reiki Master, and from the minute I met her, I felt like I'd known her all my life. And she didn't know she was a deep channel, but we developed that over the several years that we were together, working together. And so we went through the astral realm, and we went through the archangel realm, we went through the ET realm, and I think it's all part of that raising your vibration, and you experience more things as you go. It's just a natural evolution for all of humanity. Absolutely. So hopefully that answered your question.
I think it does. Very good. But I also want to move on in regards to, I guess you could say, the amalgamation of much of your healing practice as well, too. Being able to take a lot of the practical, you know, studying that you've done and making that part of the holistic approach. How have you felt that that has really kind of fit together, that everything that you know, very the logical side and a lot of the physical side from the Western medicine, and bringing a lot more to the Eastern medicine together? How have you felt that amalgamation has been brought forward, and do you feel that this is, in that sense, the I guess you could say, aligned way to really move into new forms of medicine, so where you're basically kind of looking at the Western and the Eastern, and are they capable, are they compatible in regards to fitting together?
Sure. And so some of us came to this planet to bridge the gap. And so you could look at it like that. You have two separate schools of thought. East and West. And so you can't take a kindergartner and take them and put them into trigonometry without teaching them the basic math the whole way up. And so that's what a lot of people think, that one day we're just going to shift and everybody's going to be, oh, we're all, first of all, we all have our own individual consciousness and our own choice through free will to choose where our next life is. I don't think everybody chose or is going to choose to go to fourth density or fifth density. I think everybody has their own plan. We're all here collectively at this time. But as far as medicine goes, somebody has to bridge the gap, and it has to be subtle. Not everybody wants to even hear about hypnotherapy, ETs, because of the fear vibration, the programming over decades and lifetimes, and not just one lifetime, but over and over and over. And so I think I've come to learn that aspect in what we call traditional medicine and apply some of the holistic, what we consider holistic, or natural approaches like hypnotherapy, energy healing, and just plant that seed and offer it to certain people. Because we do have a population that some people come in and they say, look, doc, I'm not going to watch my diet, I'm not going to exercise, just give me my cholesterol pill at night. They know who they are. And I don't judge them, proud that they know who they are, and they're going to play a game and say, oh yeah, I'll try this hypnotherapy. They take their pill, and so for those people, I write the prescription. I can't force them to do anything they don't want to do. They have free will, nor should I. And so for the people that come in and say, don't you have anything else besides these pills? I don't really trust these pharmaceutical companies. They're multi-billion-dollar companies, and they control a lot of what's going on behind the scenes, and they're right. And so I'm like, okay, for what I know, there's energy healing, there's hypnotherapy, there's so many other modalities. And so I just offer that to them. And I can see why a lot of traditional docs don't do it, because the fear of litigation. So again, it comes down to that conscious awareness and where you're vibrating at. Because if you're in fear, you're less likely to say, you know what, I'm going to refer you to this energy healer and see what they can do for you. And so I think that my job now is to kind of blend the two together, plant some seeds, offer the choice. And I've heard from all over the world, I'm telling you all, on all the radio shows, yours from Canada, interviewed, people say where I live. And you know what? I've been asked several times to create something like that, but I just haven't run into a lot of people, a lot of MDs, DOs, nurse practitioners, PAs, anybody that practices medicine that's really that open. A few I found.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as well up here in Canada as well too, is that there are some practitioners that are starting to move more into kind of like the East and West amalgamation philosophy, and there still are those that are very much afraid to it because, as you said, with litigation as well too, there is always that fear. There's also the feeling as well too, like when we have our spaces up here, just people who are actually Reiki healers or offering some type of alternative healing therapy are always concerned themselves about litigation and feeling that, what is it that you guys are doing here? Is this pseudoscience? And so there really seems to be a lot of that issue around, really into litigation, just for people that are of the Eastern mind that want to come to the West and offer a lot of this Eastern philosophy. Is there any recommendations that you felt that you have discovered that may allow more of a understanding on a positive level pertaining to those who still want to open up a business that may be very Eastern in mind, yet coming to the West to offer it?
Well, you have to be brave. This is for some brave soldiers out there. And, as you step away from and you have a license, you're doing you're playing the game just like you've come here to do, and you've gone through the education hours and fees for all your licenses and your malpractice and all that. There is research that shows that Reiki energy specifically has shown positive results. And so if it was to come down to going to court, you could bring up some of these types of things and say, look, here it is in black and white. The research is out there for this. But people don't even want to get drawn into that. Who has time to go to court, or who wants to? That's the fear too. It's not just about whether I'm going to be guilty or not. It's like, who wants to go to court? Why should I step into all this possible mess? You know what I mean? And so, if I was a provider that didn't want to step into both, kind of like what I'm doing, I would still do referrals, because clinical hypnotherapy, a lot of the hypnotherapists are energy healers, and they are eventually, as they practice, I think it's part of evolution as well, within the spirit of the person. As they're doing these hypnotherapy sessions, all of a sudden they get into past life regression, they start seeing things beside people, they're opening their senses up. And so I would suggest referring to people, practitioners like hypnotherapists and energy healers that have a legitimate practice. I mean, that's how we start. You got to start somewhere.
Exactly. And that's true, and that's good advice as well for anybody, because people, again, are very brave that go into those particular types of avenues, and I think a lot of people, that's why I think they just stick with a home-based business. They try to do it through there. I mean, I've looked at quite a few different alternative healing systems, and a lot of them just run it right out of their own basement or right out of their own home, and
Right.
again, very hush-hush about it, and very secretive about it. People who are alchemists, people who are creating elixirs like out of ormus. People who, again, have these amazing advanced quantum healing practicalities. It's really quite fascinating. But let's move on a little bit more to the idea of universal consciousness, because you have your radio show, Universal Talk Radio. What is it that you feel that you address for people who may not be familiar with Universal Talk Radio? What is the kind of feeling in regards to what you want to offer through the show that may assist in educating people further about what you offer?
Basically, as you said at the beginning of the show, it's kind of putting the pieces to the puzzle together, because another variable in this thing we call life is separation. And as you separate everything out, you don't have the bigger picture. They do this in the military. They compartmentalize everything. So one group has a part to build, and then only a very few people know the bigger picture. And so that's how they kind of hide the truth, so to speak, or the whole picture from the general population.
Exactly. And I think that, when I was on the show as well too, we had a couple other guests. We had like a panel. We had Drunvalo Melchizedek, we had Tolik, we had KP, and it was a really, really wonderful interview. And I think what was really great was the variety that was talked about through Universal Talk Radio, through that discussion panel. Drunvalo was coming through, and he was talking a lot about new sciences, expansions in consciousness, and really looking at these ideas. I can't remember the name of the currents he was talking about, but certain CME currents and all that, and really looking into the power of what we're able to discover through in regards to science that is now starting to blend in consciousness. So when we're really looking at the idea of universal consciousness, how do you feel in regards to your perspective? Do you feel the blending is currently taking place, I guess you could say, on a collective level between what we understand as consciousness and science right now as the current method? How do you feel that they're blending together?
Yeah, definitely. It's there. It's been there. It's just getting it to the masses is the problem. And so select groups are raising their own individual consciousness. This is one of the variables. As you raise your own consciousness, you have no choice but affect everybody around you. And so through energy, through the vibration that you work on yourself and you hold and you keep working, the people you come into contact with, all of a sudden, their consciousness raises. And so there are people that have been called seed droppers. And so you go and you talk to somebody, and you come back a year later, and your ego may think, wow, that person, I wonder how much they've grown. Next thing you know, they've surpassed you, and they're somewhere like you never thought they would be. And so it's exciting to me to see at a grassroots level that this is changing. And so I definitely see the blending. The information's out there. It's always been out there. It's what you call the conscious matrix. And so if everything is electromagnetic in the universe, I mean, we look at a cell phone and we don't even think about it. We just grab that cell phone and we pick it up and we dial, and like that, you can be calling somebody, you can be on the internet, you can do so many things with it, but there's no wire that connects. So what I think technology actually is an outward representation of what we can do at these higher vibrations. And so we're bringing it down, turning it into something that we can believe and get behind because we're these conscious creators. And so eventually, it's a matter of the technology catching up with who we are and what we can actually do. if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, absolutely. And for everybody who's tuning in right now, just to our conversation, this is Conscious Matrix Interviews, and we are interviewing Dr. Joseph Marra. If you guys do have questions for Joe and myself, please feel free just to use our Q&A app. You can just go to our event page, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll have the little link there where you can ask questions as well, too, so we will be taking questions here in the next few minutes. But Joe, again, would you like to share in regards to how things are going right now? Is there something very, very amazing or very interesting that you feel that you would like to share about a project or projects that you are currently working on right now relating to the work that you're doing?
Well, you know, it's interesting how the universe pushes you in the direction that you're supposed to be going anyway. And you can either go kicking and screaming and get a 2x4 in the back of the head like I used to have to get, or you either go with the flow and make it you're skirting the tops of the waves, so to speak, because energetically the sun is hitting us with these waves, the universe, where we're going with the galactic rotation, all these things. And so I've learned to try to go with the flow of life. And my mom happened to be tearing down this old farmhouse, and I decided to take a month off of where I was in New Mexico, come to Pennsylvania, where I am currently, and help her pack things up and store them in her garage. And all my siblings, we all got together to do this. And while I've been here, I'm with my best friend Terry, who is Terry Ippoletti, who's the deep channel I spoke to you about earlier. And we've been doing a lot of energy healing on one another. We're getting out into nature, getting grounded, but we're also channeling. And so what has shifted in me and her is the conscious awareness of this veil that everybody talks about. And sometimes you think about it as just like a singular way, like, oh, the veil's going to lift and we're going to see UFOs. But it's not just that. It's everything that's ever been hidden, and it's all coming to surface. It's coming, but you have to be open and aware to be able to see the signs. And if you're a non-believer, then you're not going to see it. That's just how it works. And so right now, I'm in this conscious awareness. It's just hit me in the past week that everything is becoming, it has the potential really right now for people that want to raise in consciousness to really become unified within themselves and externally. And so when we were talking about polarity earlier, up, down, good, bad, hot, cold, all this stuff, even male, female. And so these higher realms, which you and I have talked about before, are androgynous, and it's the blending of the male-female energy. And so, you know, yes, we're in physicality in this lifetime, and I've came into this male body, but that doesn't mean you can't blend the male-female energies. Not to mention that all these other chakras, most of the energy healers, like Reiki healers, know about the 7 main chakras, but there are several more. In fact, there are many, many more. Yeah. And so right now, what's happening, at least to me, and again, this is my truth, is these are coming online. And it's becoming unified and hemi-syncing the left to the right side, and that's that polarity again that we perceive things with. You know, we have 2 eyes, you know, ears, all this. Everything is unifying into one. And so it's interesting what's happening, what I'm seeing, and how I'm seeing it from a different vantage point. And just even my own personal channel that's coming online. And so I never saw myself as a channeler, because I don't set my ego aside. It's just an information flow. As I close my eyes and get rid of that stimulus that's all around me, the information just flows from another source. And or it's what we got today was like if we're looking at it in a linear way, it'd be like my ancestors that started from that spark that separated the whole way down to where the most dense that you can possibly experience, and then working its way back to source. And so in a linear way, all of this, all of these lifetimes and all this is connected, and you can tap into it, and that's just your own lineage of DNA, which is a memory bank in and of itself. And so this gets into quantum physics, this gets into the illusion of what's all around us, a holographic universe. It really gets pretty deep for people. And I would just go to technology and say, look what we couldn't even conceive of 30 years ago, and look where we're at today. I mean, I can pull out one of these flash drives and show you that how many gig can you put on that that used to be a whole building just not so many years ago. And now look what we have it on this little wee flash drive. And it's the same with DNA, because the whole is in all the parts. That's how the universe works. And so that's how you can create a kidney from a liver cell and vice versa.
Exactly. Well, I think one of the things you were bringing up very earlier was, again, about the signs of reality. And I think this is still a lot of what a lot of people are struggling with, because we get so involved with the dramas of our life, and basically them just trying to look into exactly what they've attracted. And what do you feel you could share with people in regards to that, who want to, focus more into the observational quality of reality, when they look at signs, when they see synchronicities on the clock, so to speak? What the signs and synchronicities are basically attempting to tell you? Because again, it is all about consciousness, and it is all about reflection and mirrors. What would you share with a person in regards to saying, well, how can I understand more about what the universe is attempting to tell me?
Sure. First of all, again, you have to be open to things that you haven't been programmed with in this lifetime. And so people always want the tangible evidence. It's like, right there, what can I see that's really changing? Be open, first of all, to see. And if you allow yourself, instead of just having that front of saying, look, I don't believe it till I see it, you're not going to experience anything. You're not going to see it. If you're open, though, all of a sudden, you get excitement. And as you get excitement, your energy raises, your vibration raises, the fear kind of steps aside and gets a little bit higher. And all of a sudden, things in synchronicity, someone will say, maybe you should get your, I heard your tire screeching, maybe you should get that fixed. And then the next thing you know, you pull into the store and someone looks down and says, boy, that guy's tires are bought. Those are synchronistic things that happen, consecutively, that people can pay attention to. Numbers speak to me. Today, I don't know how many license plates I saw that were 555s. To me, that means buckle your seatbelt. There's a major change before you.
Yeah.
Animals speak. Teddy Andrews, I talk about this all the time. They have a little book. He has a big one, but he has got this little pocket guide I carry with me. And so at the lake that I was at today, I saw dragonflies, butterflies, and out of nowhere I heard this blue jay. So I had to look those up just to see what that meant in that moment for me. And I'm telling you, every time it's like, oh my gosh, we were just talking about that. So these are just subtle hints that your higher self, the universe, your angels, whoever you look upon in your conscious awareness, they're dropping hints all around you. And
well,
so
right now, because it's actually 3:33 on the clock while you're talking. And very good synchronicity.
To me that means the masters are with us, or what I've grown to know is we are our own master as you step into these higher vibrations, and you master who you are, not in an ego way. I'm not saying that I'm God and I'm better than anybody. It's just like, hey, we are all co-creators. We are all masters if we step into that, if we allow ourselves, if you open up to it. So that's what 333 means to me, is the masters are around you. And so it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, exactly. And I just, you're talking, and all of a sudden 333 comes up. It really does represent, the whole idea of like a sacred trinity, a holy trinity, that brings to our conscious selves, our higher consciousness, and super consciousness, and basically aligning together very harmoniously in that moment. You're just kind of going with that flow. You're letting the energy just go through you, and just being able to let the words become themselves. So that basically represents a very strong, harmonious moment. But I think what we'll do right now is, again, just kind of going back to the healing practice as well, too. Did you want to discuss in regards to how Reiki energy, because Reiki is a very, very popular type of healing for many people, how that has been very, very effective for you, and how have you utilized that in the forms of your healing practices as well?
I recommend, whenever I had my own practice, I offered the energy healing, and I started out with Reiki. And once you start to become an energy healer, not taking anything away from Reiki, but it is a singular form of energy. When you call upon it, that's the energy that you get. Anymore, because I just generally call myself an energy healer, I call upon whatever's in the greatest good for this patient at this time, because the universe is vast, and energy can come from all kind of dimensions, all realities, all parallel universes, and so I just generalize in whatever's in that person's greatest good. And so Reiki, it deals mainly with the 7 main chakras, and there's Reiki 1, there's Reiki 2, there's Reiki 3. And as you become the Reiki Master, you step into that third phase, and it comes with attunements and different things like that. And if there are people that haven't tried it to experience it, that's what led me to go be a Reiki master by an experience that I had with a Reiki master. I said, how can I offer this to my patients? Because when the lady put her hands on my chest, it felt like she put two hot irons on my chest, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could feel the energy. I mean, it was easily noticeable by me. And here I am, the scientist. I'm going in all skeptical and had my eyes closed, and I was looking around like, oh my God, did she just put her hands on a hot plate, or what's going on? And so then I wanted to learn how to do it for myself and for other people. So what I can say about energy healing in general, or Reiki, is that it is a modality. It's not for everybody because it comes down to your belief system. But more chances than not, if you go and you get an energy healing, you're gonna have an experience. It's just the way it is. As long as you're open enough to even go and allow yourself to lay on that table, you're open enough to receive. So I would definitely recommend that. I mean, everything is energy, and that's where I think that we'll eventually go. We're not going to need pharmaceuticals and all these technologies eventually.
Exactly.
Who knows how long that'll be?
Yeah, I mean, even with myself, like I've done the Reiki, the Sui Reiki level 3, and that was all back in 2010. What I've discovered as well personally is that it's not so much as the modality as it is the healer behind it. And it really is that, the modalities themselves can certainly be taught. The methods can be very profound, but I feel that the actual action that is being produced, the intention of the healer, is really what generates the most power, because you can have a person who is very, very passionate behind it, who does a lot of daily exercises and strengthening their own energy field and helping them to connect a lot more to source. And even if a person in that sense doesn't even really perform Reiki, but they know that they've always been very passionate, they realize that there's an energy within themselves, they're starting to realize how connected we are to all each other, and that you're basically just moving yourself more into an alignment of that balance and seeing that particular individual or individuals that you're working on in that form of balance as well too. That intention of thought, that power itself, generates the form of a great healing in that sense, and healing just representing the idea of upliftment. Have you noticed that there have been some people that you may have, in that sense, kind of come across that may not have a particular modality or method per se, but you've noticed that there is some really amazing potential healing throughout them?
Mm-hmm. I found people that weren't even energy healers that I could feel their energy just by them putting their hand on me or shaking my hand, or as you become sensitive doing this type of work, the words people speak, the behaviors that they hold themselves, just touching. I mean, it's amazing what you pick up, the subtle energy that the human body puts off. And so, yeah, I've met a lot of people that were not energy healers that had some powerful energy that I would suggest and say, man, you should really be a healer because you have the. I think we really all have the potential, but as you say, some of us are more passionate, and with the thought and that focused intention of healing, you can tell the difference between different energy healers. And like you say, I mean, if you're an open channel, that energy streaming through that person into you because you have the intent of healing, and the person has the intent of healing or being the conduit to heal you. And so there is a difference. And so, yes, I've experienced, in fact, sometimes afterwards they're like, I really didn't feel the flow so much, but I didn't really do any guided meditations the last few days, and I had a problem at work, and so it's really important to set the space and clear yourself before you go in and do this type of work.
Absolutely. Very good. All right, we are now going to go to questions. We do have a couple of questions here that are just popped up here through the chat, and we do have a very first question here from Sherian. And Sherian asks, what would you suggest to a person who is studying medicine in order to have the credibility? It feels conflicted about learning medicine, but wants to incorporate a more holistic approach as well as affect a large population.
Yeah, unfortunately, we still live in the world of physicality and roles and credentials, and that's why I went on for my doctorate, just because people find that if you have a doctorate, you have more validity than someone that doesn't have any kind of credentials. I don't believe that's the case personally. I've met a lot of people that are much wiser than I that for us. And so I would say if you want to go into medicine and you live in, say, the United States or where traditional medicine is, um, that, you know, go through the process, but also be open and physically go to some of these places yourself to prove it to yourself, because that's what opened my eyes. Is what I was a scientist, you know, like I said, all of my degrees are in science. So I said, I'm not going to go tell people about this if I don't experience something. But I was open-minded. I says, okay, I want to go do some energy healing. All right, let's go do some channeling. Let's do automatic writing. And when I witnessed all of these things, and I was hypnotized several times, I'm like, wow, this is really powerful. All of these modalities, here they are, reflexology. I mean, there's so many things that people could use that are more natural, and a primary or traditional MD, DO practitioner, however, they can implement and add these things. I mean, my first thought would be go experience them for yourself, so you know. Do a little bit of research so you're not so in the books of traditional medicine where they tell you, oh, this is woo-woo stuff. Once you experience, you'll be sold, and no one can tell you anything different.
Exactly. All right, Sheridan, I hope that answered your question. We'll move on to David here, as David has a question. He says, hi, I was wondering, what is the most common issue when we feel pain in our neck and center of the spine, the thoracic spine, when we are seated or standing for a long time? And which is the best way to overcome and get rid of that pain? Thank you very much.
Well, the neck to me is the cervical, and lower than that is the thoracic. So it depends exactly where they're talking about, because as the chakra centers are on the front, and if you look these up, you can look online and see how it relates to you in the energy part, whether it be in the throat chakra for the neck. That means you're not speaking your truth. A lot of people come in with, say, hypothyroidism, and the first question I ask them is, you know, are you not speaking your truth? And they're like, how did you know that? It's because this energy center a lot of times is blocked or dense, and I can feel it and I can see. Sometimes I can see blockages or a darkness there. That's one thing. There are other modalities that you can use, like um, energy healing, which we talked about, but massage therapy is really good to release some of those tight muscles that are maybe impinging on the nerves, because your vertebral column is stacked like this, and they're supposed to have a jelly donut in between. And so whether you injured yourself in this lifetime, whether it's a cellular memory of a past life, whether it's current stress and tension that you have right now with an emotional component, because usually when you have an illness or a disease, it starts with an vibration that comes down, and as things come down into more dense, that's where your physicality is. And so you have an aura around you, you have these energy centers, that's at a higher vibration that not everybody can see, because they're vibrating at a lower vibration and their periphery is like this. And as you raise in vibration, all of a sudden you can see more. Lights get brighter, the colors in plants, like this is another thing, Brad, you asked me earlier. I mean, everything is so bright this past week. Like, I mean, flowers are just blam. They're almost fluorescent to me. The trees, and I mean, it's just amazing. So, yes, there's some major changes in these higher energies, and so as far as the specifics with the variability of what he's talking about in that area. But generally speaking, that's what I would suggest.
Okay, great. There was a few times where you kind of cut out for a few seconds, but I think we got most of what the the message was, because I think the computer might get a little bit weird at times. But no, I think we got most of that information down, so thank you so much for that, Joseph. And now we're going to go ahead and move on to the third question. This is from Sherian again. And Sherian asks, how would you suggest new energy healing practices advertise themselves? So I guess we're looking into a lot of the new healing practices. You know, is there a particular type of advertising in regards to that you maybe feel that you could suggest or recommend in that?
You know, I think it depends where you're located, because, again, everything's energy. So here on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, just as an example, I could tell whenever I would go from Pennsylvania and I would land in, say, Phoenix, Arizona, the vibration in that part of the world, like say Sedona, it's a major vortex on this planet, and when you go there, I'm telling you, your psychic abilities, if you want to call them that, turn on and turn up like huge. And so depending where you're located, you have to be, I don't want to use the word cautious, but again, we're here to play the game. You know, you won't run butt naked down the street because it's illegal, right?
Yeah.
So if we're playing the game here, it's like, okay, look around. Is there anybody else that's doing these things, or are you like a forerunner in this whole thing? And so sometimes you got to be a little bit subtle. And if you're wide open, like say a place like Sedona, or in Taos, New Mexico, or Santa Fe, there are different places on the world that they're already open to this, and they're already doing hypnotherapy, energy healing, all this. You can just put it all over the place. Sometimes if you get a physician that's open, which I have found a few, you can go talk to them. And this is how my hypnotherapist and Reiki healer, she walked into my office and said, hey, I'm a hypnotherapist, and I was wondering if your doctor would like to refer patients to me for smoking cessation. So it starts out as traditional things, and then all of a sudden the word gets out, and word of mouth. And not only do you do that, but you do the past life regressions and all the other things that people can't really get behind in a lower dense area. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, and that's good as well. So, I mean, and it also depends a lot of if people are doing services, if this is something that you're offering, if you're doing psychic readings, you're doing intuitive readings, you're doing remote healing as well too, healing through distance as well. I've always found that one of the best things to do is offering that online, because with online you have so much capabilities, and you're even joint venturing with a lot of other people who are practitioners as well, people who are channelers, people who are psychics, intuitives. And I feel that if you're really starting to come into this community, people want to help each other out. And if you're starting a new energy healing method, if you want to start a new business, I know Sherian very well because he's very, very passionate about this. He wants to get into channeling and energy healing, and that's great because we definitely need a lot more people like that. But I know he wants to really go far. And so my recommendation to you, Sherian, is again just really starting to stretch yourself out in the online world as well. Definitely look within your local area and finding out exactly, kind of getting a feeling of what may be available within your area. You may notice some local Reiki healers, you may notice some local practitioners, psychics, etc., and being able to talk to them as well too, because they're very, very aware of of the type of people that they're attracting, and knowing that you want to do this as well, and being able to kind of create that type of partnership, working together very, very extensively as a unit. But I always say that if you're really looking to reach a worldwide audience, then the internet is the perfect thing for that. A lot of social media, being able to work on your website, and just being able to stand out in the example that you want to offer. If you really want to be this practitioner, let it be the example that you offer through yourself. Show yourself that you are this practitioner. And as you start to do this, you're now going to start manifesting all of these people coming into your reality that will be very, very appreciative and understand exactly what you offer that will be a benefit. So I'll throw that out there as well to you, Sherian, as well too, is just continue to expand yourself, continue to look into yourself, and let the online world and the physical world communicate with you harmoniously as you discover more of yourself. So very good. Joseph, go ahead. Yep.
Sorry. The other thing that you can look at are what is not so traditional. So in other words, like if you can look into chiropractics, they're really open for natural healing and herbal things, and in naturopath, like doctors, other people that have things like that are selling herbs, and chiropractors, and if there happen to be any hypnotherapists, go to those people so that you can create a network of referrals back and forth to start. And then again, once the word gets out, plus people will gravitate towards you. If they vibrate at a particular frequency, they're going to find you, whether it be online. And Brad's right, you can really reach a lot of people online. And so I've done a lot of distance healing, hypnotherapy, angel card readings through Skype, and through things like this, Google Hangouts. So, the key is to get started, but be smart about it. I don't want to say be brave or don't be fearful. You have to be smart about it because, again, we're here to play this game of life, and as you master it, you know what you should and shouldn't do, and you use your discernment about you, and you can't go wrong. So.
Exactly. But moving into the conclusion of our broadcast, Joseph, is there something that you feel that you want to offer anybody regarding to a message? Anybody who may be getting into this and really starting to understand more about their own awakening process and finding out maybe what their next step is? Is there any kind of advice that you feel that you have people who want to really kind of take this a lot further into understanding the expansion of their own consciousness?
Sure. Meeting people like you or me or anybody that speaks the language that you're seeking and it excites you, anything that causes joy, your greatest joy or your greatest excitement, go in that direction. Follow those people. Don't look at them as a god or a messiah. Just look at them as though giving you information, because at one point you may outgrow them, you'll reach somebody else, and you'll go somewhere else. And so the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is go within and meditate. So meditation is so huge, and some people are fearful of it because of some of the programming that's been put out there. But really, if you take sitting up and closing your eyes and allowing yourself to reach these particular, brain waves. It could be getting out into nature, taking your shoes off, ground into Mother Earth, because as you do that, you raise your vibration to the frequency of the planet. And, be conscious of what's around you. Close your eyes for a minute to take that stimulus away. Start to use your nose and focus on that and smell the flowers, smell the air, smell the trees. Listen. Do you hear the birds in the background? Do you hear the air going through the trees, through the wheat, or whatever you're around? That is meditation in and of itself. And as you do that, epiphanies will come to you, thoughts will come to you, and you'll be like, oh my gosh, wow. And it's all about quieting this mind. It's so ego-driven, and we've been programmed to be busy, busy, busy. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Micromanage this. When you quiet that down and you balance those aspects, mind, body, spirit, emotional, and energetic, all of a sudden you come online and you come alive. And then you're going to be, I don't want to say addicted, but I'm telling you what, you'll have a drive to want more of it, because it's a love vibration. You're like, wow, I want to experience more of that. I don't like this low dense stuff that I've been dealing with all these years.
Exactly. Now that's a great message as well too, because it really is all about people understanding that when I first began, I just wanted to have a craving for everything. I wanted to know all about channeling. I wanted to know all about energy healing. I wanted to know about the power of consciousness. I wanted to look more into meditation. I was just a sponge, and I wanted to know just all these different forms of modalities that represent themselves, because I think the biggest spark was an awareness of expansion, of realizing that we're moving beyond the status quo of what we believe reality is. And so it's always going to take people into different directions, and finding out exactly where you vibrate at that current moment. There's always going to be a lot of things for you to explore. You may want to get more into medicine. You may want to get more into those advanced principles. But you may feel that right now is maybe I just want to look into meditation. I really want to go inside myself. I want to see if maybe I can heal myself. If I can receive insight from whatever I may want to call it, my own higher consciousness, my higher self, my spirit guides, extraterrestrial consciousness, whatever it may be. And just being able to go within. So, again, from what Joe is saying as well too, it's just being able to ground yourself and really look into nature. And it really is about bringing in both polarities, the masculine and the feminine, that we are looking together into grounding ourselves, and we are looking to really connect with the essence of our feeling, the essence of our spirit. And so that really is, again, a very powerful way to start, is just finding out where you are right now, what you want to look at right now. You don't have to become a sponge, but you can certainly look at what is pulling you in a particular direction right now. So again, a very good message there. And Joseph, how can people get a hold of you? Is there in regards to the Universal Talk Radio, because you host that on a weekly basis, what is the website for that?
Because I've been in Pennsylvania for the last month, we haven't done a show probably since the last one you and I and the other guys did, and we have another one coming up in September. So we were supposed to be doing it weekly, and just for clarity, I've kind of backed off a little bit right now because of this venture that I'm at in Pennsylvania, and I don't have very good internet here in the mountains of Pennsylvania, so that's why this might be a little sketchy here and there too. But it's under PSN Radio. It's broadcast out of through the internet, but out of Florida, and so you can look up universaltalk.info, a guiding light spelled lite.com, and all of the other information is there. I also have a YouTube page under Joseph Marra, or it might be under Universal Talk. If you just Google my name, I mean, I've spoken at MUFON conferences, I've been to ESETI, I've been to the Mayan Civilization, Phoenix, I mean, all these places. So I just kind of put the information out there. It's not like I'm bragging, hey, I've been to all these places. It's like, hey, you guys can see this too. Come and check this out. This is so cool. And once you see it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, it's not just on Ancient Aliens, which, by the way, is a pretty good show to bring people. It bridges the gap, you know. I don't like all their theories. I would stretch a lot of what they say a lot further, but I think it's important to help people that might be down here to reach here so that they can keep going. Again, it's like little bits, and so people can raise a little bit, and that's how this consciousness is changing.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you so much, Joseph, for being on the show today. And Dr. Joseph Marra, again, you can go to guidinglight.com. Feel free to type in Dr. Joseph Marra on Google. You'll find all kinds of great information on him. Joe, great to have you here and just to have this interview with you, and definitely looking to speaking to you again very, very soon. Thank you so much for being on the broadcast today.
Thank you, Brad. Sending love, light, and laughter.
Thank you so much. Love, light, and laughter. Absolutely. So again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning into Conscious Matrix interviews tonight. And tomorrow we will be bringing in Victoria Vivas, so we're going to have another exciting broadcast as well. Just stay tuned for more Conscious Matrix interviews. We are going to be switching over to Portal to Ascension interviews here in the next little while, as there's a merger happening right now between Conscious Matrix and another affiliate organization that I'm working very extensively with called Portal to Ascension. So these interviews will be moved into Portal to Ascension interviews here in the next little while. But again, Dr. Joseph Marra, thank you so much. And love to all you guys. Thank you so much. Follow your passion. May it be well with you. Namaste. And take care. Talk to you soon.